You know, you have to walk a mile in his shoes to understand it. There's a lot of people that are going to be mad, though. The amount of truly extraordinary cooperation that he gave. This was the first time anybody had ever seen him, at least publicly. Like, this was real. This was finally coming to a close. And he was facing the guidelines between 21 and 26 years. He walked out of the Manhattan court complex a free man. Yeah.
He immediately cooperated with the FBI when they arrested him, and the judge said that that was probably the most significant aspect of the case, was that Sabu flipped so quickly, which enabled the FBI to sort of become a part of Anonymous over a 9-month period. They were apparently sitting at the computer with him at times. He had a camera in his apartment or house that was videotaping him every day. He was debriefed regularly by the FBI.
Judge Preska said, and I quote, "I salute you."
The prosecution and the defense and sort of built him up to be this sort of conservative folk hero, like the model FBI informant, the person who every informant should live up to be, to the point where it made it impossible for them to give him jail time. You can't, it would have been bad for the informant program for him to have worked that long, to work 3 years and then be sentenced to prison.
Sabu pretty much neutralized Anonymous.
Yeah.
Completely.
Yeah.
Neutralized Anonymous.
After he went down, everyone's afraid of following any leader, and they're also afraid of, you know, starting an operation on their own.
In general, nobody trusts anyone. If you go on any IRC chat, they're all just talking about, you know, like,
Who's the Fed?
You're the Fed. You're a Fed.
Yeah, what about
Fed? Come on.
Yeah, and what about that? Well,
like,
forget even
yeah,
all.
we know you're a Fed.
At the end of the day, he's just a hacker getting used by the government.
Sabu is the big snitch. Like, the 9th circle of hell is reserved for Sabu. Him and Cain and like Judas will be there with Satan.
Lean back, bitch, we be sending an injection. Magic quotes off, join table in a section. Put it up on page, then it won't get erased. Then 20 million hits till you're down like some cavemen.
There's been an unfortunate deficit in what people have read and what people have written about an issue that is of extraordinary importance. Trapwire.
Barrett sort of shines the light on this stuff. He's like, oh my God, it's actually happening. You've got the emails right there.
He stumbles across this. Stumbles across it, starts talking about it.
Trapwire manages to take lots and lots of data from the closed-circuit cameras that are found in large urban areas and makes the information more actionable and functionable.
Trapwire is software that can match surveillance data taken from multiple closed-circuit cameras from across the country.
Video feeds are fed into a centralized system that analyzes them for patterns of suspicious behavior.
To understand Trapwire, you have to understand sort of the larger context. Because Trapwire is a critical piece of the surveillance apparatus. This is actually doing very large swath, persistent surveillance.
In 2007, Trapwire cost about $1.7 million to operate in Los Angeles County. What we know about how it functions is largely gleaned from those emails.
Trapwire has been deployed in Seattle, in Los Angeles, in DC. According to a Stratfor email, there's like 500 cameras in this New York City subway system equipped with Trapwire.
The New York Times said that Trapwire was only used on 15 cameras in the entire country and that the DHS wrote it off as a failure. That's a complete lie.
We had gone to 30th Street Station to troll Trapwire, and so what troll Trapwire was for us was essentially acting out these things that the security researcher Justin and other people had said this might work to trigger Trapwire's alarms. Sitting there holding my laptop and looking around, and like a little bit.
Tweeting, we did video.
And they were
Live
being
tweeting.
ridiculous about the whole thing.
Obvious, yeah.
Completely obvious.
We ate with a senior official in the Philadelphia Police Department. During this, Homeland Security unit for Philadelphia Police had come to him and said, Dustin Slaughter and Kenneth Lipp are at 30th Street Station, and they're worried that they're going to smash cameras, that we have something terrorist in mind. It blew our minds when we found out they thought they were monitoring this. They actually were paying attention and freaked out about
They're
it.
doing what everyone's worried about.
Right.
Like,
Yeah.
it's not
Anarchists are running all over the place and smashing, burning, looting.
Coverage of Trapwire in the U.S. The whole story was smothered in its crib by the New York Times.
It's an open secret that the mainstream media has special access to the halls of power. There was a phrase I used to hear at NSA. We're going to tell them what we want them to hear, not what they need to know. What we want them to hear. That's pure manipulation. That is PSYOP, InfoOp. You're saying because you can, you're controlling the narrative.
Hail victory!
Go, 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 go.
Lost 17 pounds. Yeah, dude. I was in a hunger strike cell, and they were taking my blood to make sure that, like, I wasn't starving to death, you know? I was on hunger strike because they refused to give me my books, and my magazines, and my newspapers, and my mail. I spent the majority of my time in the SHU. They were like, if you continue, we're going to force feed you. And I'm like, well, you're going to force feed me. Hey, I ain't backing down, you know.
The infamous computer hacker known by his alias Weave is a free man after more than a year behind bars. An appeals court has now overturned his conviction.
Every bit of an operation, they can't copy, so they hating. So I'm keeping my message close to the chest. I rock the knock on speed dial, case I got a social internal contacts that ain't taking fake mode. Oh no, I ain't designed dog checking to see if it's suspended or if it got reset independent. To the essence, I TXT, the enemy is holding.
Time behind bars has made Weave even more outspoken than before.
I can't watch my society rot when a bunch of federal scum want to just throw anybody that they disagree with in a prison cell. It's the end of the West right now, and we got to fight for it. Somebody has to.
You have no instincts to flee like Edward Snowden or Julian Assange.
I'm not running. This is my country.
So this case is at every step of the way, from the initial criminal complaint to my time in prison. It has always been about my speech, and they've wanted to silence me. And they further punished me in prison and subjected me to conditions above and beyond any other of the prisoners at my facility because of my speech. They wanted me to disappear from public view and memory. It was inside the SHU, like inside the SHU. There's an author, Alexander Solzhenitsyn. He was one of the few authors that kept writing after Stalin told all the authors that they weren't allowed to write any literature that was compelling anymore. He ended up in a prison system called the Gulag, and he describes there the steps that they do to like try to break you down. And I kept checking off like the bullet points that he listed. He had like a 30 bullet point list of all the various interrogatory methods that they used in Soviet Russia. Temperature extremes are one of them, and they'll turn up the AC to like freezing temperatures while I was sleeping, you know, and then they'll pump up the heat during the day. So, and like they come and I couldn't sleep because they would bang on the door every once in a while, and they'll shine the flashlight in your eyes, you know, and keep waking you up at night. They'll put you on a bunk and you can't even sit up, and there's a light like right next to your head, and it's pretty terrible, no doubt about it. It's pretty terrible.
The surveillance state's already here. It's already here. We're constantly on camera. Like this, like we can't put that back in the box. Like we can fret about it and say, oh gosh, we need more controls. A lot like that infrastructure is there and it's not going away.
They can watch us through our webcams. They can listen through our phones. There's no privacy left, virtually. We are the most watched, surveilled, monitored, eavesdropped population in the history of the human race.